Hi, I'm Pat Sheehan, and first I'd like to thank the Norris Gallery for giving me the opportunity to show some work here, and also that I was able to garner an award. The Usual Suspects. I painted this from a photograph that I had taken, and these meerkats were trying to vie for the very best position to keep warm in the only sun that was in their zoo enclosure. In doing so, they were subtly trying to push each other out, and they couldn't have looked more guilty than if they were in a police lineup. So hence the title, The Usual Suspects. It's a very monochromatic composition, as I used a very limited color palette. Thought that the importance here was to capture the expressions of my subjects as opposed to the overall composition, and I think I succeeded in doing so.
My name is Megan Ripke. I've been painting in watercolor since childhood. I grew up in a family of artists. My aunt was an artist and my mom is an artist. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree with an art education background. And then I've just been continuing to paint watercolor over the years. I'm drawn to floral subjects and I like to paint floral pictures with interesting lighting. The inspiration for this piece was a pot of pansies that I had on my deck, and I think I just liked the light and dark contrast, and then the composition in a photograph. The most challenging part of this painting, I would say, was painting the darks.
I'm Eric Ashenhurst, and this is my painting here called Sierra Cowboys. I got started with watercolor back in 1995. I didn't major in it in college or anything, but when I was a young kid, I was always good at doing cartoons. So I would entertain my classmates, drawing Fred Flintstone and Bugs Bunny and all those kinds of things. You know, the years were ticking by. And so I decided to take a watercolor class from a local person. You know, I found that I did pretty well at it. So then what I did is I decided to explore it further. And then in 2000, the biggest turning point was I took a 5-day workshop with a famous artist named Tony Couch. So he was kind of my mentor. I had liked his books and videos, and so I decided I'm going to take a workshop with him. And that's when my work improved a lot. And then I took a small workshop with Tom Lynch, who's local around here. Ever since then, you know, I've just been working on improving. And as far as this piece, we were on vacation in California in the Sierra Mountains. We stopped at a gas station to get some snacks, and there was a rodeo going on next door. So I snuck over there while my wife and my kids were in the gas station getting all this stuff, and I was kind of looking around, and I saw these guys getting ready to go on to the rodeo. They're just kind of getting ready, so I snapped a few pictures, and these guys don't know that they're in the in the painting. So then when I came home, I was looking through all my paintings and I thought I could do something with this. And it's funny, when I painted this one, there was a lot of bleachers and lots of stuff in the background. And I started painting it that way. I started painting what I saw, just kind of reporting on it. And I thought, no, that's not working. This is too cluttered. This is about these guys. I don't care about all the background thing. I wanted it to say the West, where you can see by the Sierra Mountains in the background. So I edited all that stuff out and just concentrated on these guys. And it turned out much, there's a lesson there that you don't need all these details that don't really mean much. You want to figure out what you want to say and then the best way to say it. So, and I think it turned out pretty well.
My name is Thomas Trausch. I'm a signature member of the Transparent Watercolor Society of America. My first 17 years of painting full-time professionally was only in transparent watercolor, and then I felt I needed a change, I needed some fresh air, so I added oil, doing oils also as a medium, but what I've done the last 4, 5, 6 years, I've come back full circle to using watercolor almost exclusively. I teach watercolor. A lot of it is virtual right now, as we know, and I enjoy the medium immensely. It's always a challenge, and it's a very humbling medium. You think you know something, and you think you can handle something, and it always surprises you. So I'm always looking, reading, asking, going to shows like this show here at Norris, and you can learn something by looking and studying. So on this gentleman that I painted, that I was happy to get into the show here and everything, I really direct paint. I don't finesse things too much. I remember the judge's comments were even, I left my brush stroke showing, I didn't blend too much. So I don't glaze a lot, but I tend to hit it and be bold about it and make adjustments directly. I don't finesse it too much. So I love to paint people, and it's rare that I'm turned down if I ask somebody to paint them for myself, not looking for a commission, but it's rare that I'm turned down. But if there's somebody I can relate to that I see, that I think what happens is, if I'm excited about painting a person, whatever, from wherever, whatever, my relationship, my excitement about it, my empathy towards my subject, you got to have that first, I think, to really make a good, solid portrait or figure work. Otherwise, I think it gets very mechanical. I hope that my feelings about the painting, whatever I'm painting, person-wise, comes through.
My name is Fátima Figueiredo. I am a watercolor painter. I have been painting for 22 years since I moved to US. Watercolor is my passion because it gives me the opportunity to express myself in the way that I feel I can paint without be more expressive and be more spontaneous, and the colors are so vivid because I am a colorist. I love colors. This is my painting, Remote Trail in the Morning, that got award at Norris Gallery 2021 watercolor show. What inspired me in this painting was a driveway. And from that curved driveway, I made up everything around here. So I decided this composition based in the driveway, but the trees in the right and the trees over here, and the colors came from inside me. There was not such colors that day because this was a plein air painting, and then the colors came from inside me because I see colors. I like to see colors in a different way from the reality. I don't want just to put greens because a tree is green. I like to put colors that comes how I feel that day.
Good morning. My name is Chuck Castle, and I'm one of the artists participating in the show, and was fortunate to receive an honorable mention award. I've been asked to say a few words about the painting that I submitted. This is a barn from a photograph that I took somewhere in, I'd say, north central Wisconsin. I often get on the back roads of Wisconsin and look for subjects for my paintings: old buildings, barns, landscapes, streetscapes of small cities in Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois. That's part of the process for me, and something I really enjoy doing, and then leads to the paintings. As you can see from the photograph, the composition of the painting is very much based on the photograph, the position of the barn and the silo, the shadows and so forth, but I've taken considerable liberties, the most significant of which is to the decision to make this a winter setting as opposed to the summer setting. as shown in the photograph. The other significant departure was as I developed the preliminary sketch. I generally do a sketch before I embark on the painting itself. I determined in my own mind that I'd like to have a little more punch of color, and as a result of that, I introduced the Coca-Cola sign on the silo. As I was doing the sketch, it occurred to me that the silo, while it's rather squat in its height, for most silos are taller for that width, it almost resembled the proportions of a can of Coca-Cola, so I thought that was an appropriate color and element to add to the painting. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of how I work and how I think, and I think everybody approaches this differently, but that's my thought process.
Hello, I'm Wendy Lamb. And my art background starts back when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I had a beloved grandfather who tried to teach me how to use charcoal and to draw and to sketch, and I was just really not interested as a little kid at that time. But fast forward until I was in my mid-40s, that I was able to go to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and get my MFA from the Department of Visual Communications. We fast forward then yet again until I was almost 60 years old when I began working with transparent watercolors, which I love and have really appreciated and enjoyed all this time. I have actually been here in the Norris show a couple of years now, and I appreciate it so much, being able to show my work. There's always such a high caliber of competition of work that is here, and I was really very thankful that this year I was able to get this piece, Wash Day in Venice, into the show. I was in a gondola ride, and this goes back a few years, and we had just turned the corner in the canal, and I had my camera and I snapped this shot. And it was later when I got back home and was flipping through my pictures, I was like, oh, I really love the extreme angle of that. I really love even the complementary colors between the teal blue and all of the oranges that happen to be in the bricks. And there were a lot of bricks for me to paint, I can tell you that. When I set out on this particular painting, the thing that I thought I would feel most satisfied with and most successful with is if I were able to make the clothes on the clothesline look as if it were 3D and literally bouncing off of the paper. And I was like, if I can accomplish that to my level of satisfaction, I will be very pleased.
Hi, I'm Dan Danielson. I have had the privilege of being the judge for this year's watercolor show here at the Norris Cultural Center, and I consider it a real honor and a privilege and a responsibility to be a judge here, because this is one of my favorite shows. I've been in this show many times in the past, and this year I'm actually a judge, so I'm looking forward to that. Being a judge is really a responsibility, and the awards are important, but what's even more important than awards is the camaraderie, the coming together of artists and the sharing of art. Art is meant to be shared. And this show allows some great watercolors to come together. Every judge, when they go to a show, they always say, oh gosh, it's tough to be a judge because there's so much good work. They would give out 20 awards if they only have 6, because the work is so good. That's so true, especially at this show. What I had to do is, even before I got to the show, I had to set some guidelines up for myself to determine what I'm going to be looking for in the show. And the guidelines pretty much are, some come from the artistic side, some come from the more holistic side, some come from the analytical side. And what I did before the show is I came up with guidelines. I wrote them down. Even though I know in my mind what I'm looking for, I wanted to write them down to make sure that I knew what I was looking for. So every good painting needs to have some kind of emotion behind it. It has to have a feeling. It has to have if it doesn't have an emotion behind it, some kind of a mood. It has to capture a mood. And the third thing would be, well, it needs to tell a story. So it has to have one of those. And this being a juried show, pretty much when I walked around, I saw one of those things: emotion, mood, or telling a story. That's the basic from beyond that, I try to take it up to another step, and that's going to be looking for the unexpected. The unexpected being, well, maybe a different point of view, a different color palette, a different perspective, something that I'm walking through the show and it really just jumps out at you, and just something a little bit different. Then another thing I look for is basically some of the basics that have been handed down to us from many artists that came before us, hundreds of years old, the basic elements of design. And we all design line, shape, value, color, texture. These are things that I didn't make up, nobody made up. These were handed down to us by artists from a long time ago. And I respect that, and I think all jurors need to do that whenever they look at anybody's painting. Obviously composition, probably at the top of the list would be composition and organization of a painting. That's more mechanical, but you tie that into the emotional and the mood, and tie that into something that's more of the craft of watercolor, or the craft of the art. It's almost like the left and right brain coming together. And so I think it's important to have an idea before going into the show, before you go in to look at the show, to know what you're looking for. Otherwise, if everything gets too emotional, then it doesn't pay the respect that we have towards the artists that have come before us a long time ago. Thank you very much for allowing me to be a juror, and to those who are entering the show, who have entered the show, congratulations. I love the work, and we'll see you again.